Hi everyone, I'm Lawrence Gamboa from Innova Asset Management. Today, we're here to talk about a topic that is growing in popularity, that is ESG investing. I'm joined by Nicola Beswick, Senior Financial Advisor at FMD Financial and Chair of the Pro Bono Financial Advice Network, as well as George Bishay, Head of Sustainable Strategies at Pendal. Nicola, George, welcome. Can you tell us all about Pro Bono Financial Advice Network and how it all started?
The Pro Bono Financial Advice Network is a charitable organisation where we provide advice through the goodwill of financial advisors to those that can't afford advice. They're generally been impacted by illness and some injuries. It all started approximately 10 years ago through a group of people that got together wanting to give back to the community.
Yeah, nice. And as PFAN primarily assists individuals facing significant hardship due to personal and health issues, how do you find those people needing that help and how do you assist them further?
I think one of the big things is there's a lot of people out there that do need this type of help and assistance. What we've done to be able to ensure that everyone gets the assistance to help with the situation that they're in is work closely with specific charities. At the moment, we are working with the multiple sclerosis community. They're our founding charity, and we've recently taken on board clients through the FMD network, so motor neuron disease and pancreas, so that's people impacted by pancreatic cancer.
Okay, wonderful. And moving back into the conversation around ESG for a moment, we'll just hand over to you, George. So can you please provide us an overview of Pendal, your remit, and some of the sustainable investments that you manage?
Sure. So Pendal Fixed Income, we manage about $20 billion of Australian assets. So that's from Commonwealth government bonds, state government, credit and cash. Personally, I've been in financial markets for about 30 years. I've been managing portfolios for 20 of those. My focus is on managing credit portfolios as well as composite bond portfolios. And within that, I manage not only vanilla portfolios, so your average portfolio, but also manage dedicated ESG strategies.
Okay.
So there's two main strategies that I manage. One is a composite bond strategy, so just a bond strategy. And the other one is what we call floating credit. The bond strategy is trying to outperform the composite bond benchmark in Australia by 75 points through the cycle. And the floating rate credit strategy is trying to outperform by roughly 2% over bank bills. And the focus of those two strategies are not only those financial returns, but also to be managed in a sustainable fashion. And over the years, I've tilted both portfolios to be focused on what we call impact securities. So that's green bonds and social bonds. Now, those securities not only provide a fantastic financial return, but what they focus on is supporting the underserved in society and also supporting climate stability. Very popular products because they're hitting their return objectives and also this concept of supporting society and the underprivileged.
Okay. And as a portfolio manager, how do you strike a balance between emphasizing sustainability within your portfolio and managing active risks whilst ensuring diversification?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get asked this all the time. Ultimately, my dedicated ESG strategies have a dual objective. Performance, because without the performance, people don't invest.
Yep.
And the second thing is manage them in an ESG style. And as I mentioned, the ESG style, in my eyes, has transformed to effectively the real important parts of what we should be doing. It's an incredibly powerful way to invest your money.
Yeah.
And a bit later, we'll talk about some of the stories as to what that actually means. But ultimately, I'm juggling the performance and the ESG to get that dual objective outcome. Again, I need the performance. Without the performance, people don't invest. And fortunately, we've delivered that performance over the last 15 years, which is great. And also on the ESG side, as I said, I'll talk about some of those stories. Incredibly powerful. And really, it's the combination of those two things that have made these two products very popular in our business.
Okay, yeah, really insightful. I might hand it back over to Nicola. Nicola, what has been your experience with ethical investing? And is this something that you're seeing at the forefront of your conversations?
Oh, 100%. I think George summed it up really, really nicely in terms of linking back not only the performance, but the underlying investment criteria that everyday Australians want to have. They want to be able to have that dual ability of knowing that their money is working for them, but it's also providing some assistance to, I say, the greater good, so to speak, looking after the climate, particularly climate change is a big topic at the moment, social housing, things like that. People are more and more willing to want to invest and choose investments that have that type of exposure in their portfolios, and will quite openly want to have those discussions with me as an advisor. Gone are the days where clients feel like they can't have a choice. They do want to exercise that choice and go into investments that they feel are providing that dual objective of return, and then also helping the world.
Yeah. Well, back to George. With so many accusations of greenwashing in the investment industry, and the confusion around surrounding those definitions, what strategies do you believe can help rebuild trust with investors regarding sustainability and focused investments?
Yeah, so the last couple of years, that's been at the forefront of many, many discussions internally and from our clients. And ultimately, it comes down to, does the investment manager have ESG at the core of what they're doing and the core of that product?
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, we've been involved in managing ESG fixed income portfolios for 15 years. A lot of competitors are something they've recently added, but because we've been doing it for so long, and it's at the core objective within the portfolio, we have to ensure that that is absolutely met above, as well as that financial return. Now, before we even started our journey in ESG fixed income management, we actually had a business, a now internal business called Regnan. And what they do is, their sole focus in life is ESG research, stewardship and engagement. They don't care about valuations of securities, it's purely on that. Now, we have that as supporting us in what we do. And very much they allow us to be at the forefront of ESG analysis. And because of that, we are viewed very much that way. And we've won multiple awards on the back of being ESG leaders, specifically on these ESG fixed income funds that we have. So that fortunately gives us, confirms that that's the case. But in relation to the greenwashing, as I said, if you have ESG at core of what you're doing, as opposed to something at the back end of your process, you're less likely to be caught up in greenwashing. And another thing that really helps our cause is we have a bias to invest in green bonds and social bonds. It is a significant part of the portfolio. Now, those securities are absolutely focused on basically supporting the climate stability, and or supporting the underserved in society. So that's how we like to invest the portfolio and make sure any concept of greenwashing is not a part of what we do. And as I said, the business has spent a huge amount of resources in ensuring everything we do is true to label. And ultimately, it's important for me and us as a business because that's what our clients rely on. And we work with our clients. So that sort of supports what we do from that perspective.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned, you talked about earlier about green bonds. Can you give us some examples of some of the sustainable bonds you invest in?
Yeah. Out of everything I've said today, this is probably the only thing you're going to remember. Two very powerful stories, and ultimately, if I think about the popularity of the funds, it's performance, which we've been able to achieve, but it's stories like this and the projects that we invest in that really are incredibly powerful. So the first story both stories are related to social housing projects that we've invested in. The first one is around Steve and Kerry, who are brother and sister, who have cerebral palsy. They've had it since they were born, and they were looked after by their parents. Cerebral palsy is a permanent movement disorder, so you need 24/7 support. When their parents died, you can imagine that's a critical juncture for the two. They were, or the project that we got involved in was building them a special purpose home that's wheelchair accessible and fully staffed.
Right.
So they can continue with their lives being supported, and you can see how that being involved in a project like this, like I find it very powerful from my perspective, but my clients love that type of project. And you know, obviously supporting that, but also it's not to the detriment of performance in our funds. So that's one very powerful story. The next story, again related to social housing, I was fortunate enough to be asked to be invited out to a social housing program in Western Sydney. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I thought they'd be rundown properties, but really they were brand new townhouses, brand new units. And one of the ladies who was a direct beneficiary of this project that we're involved in wanted us to hear her direct story, and I'm so glad she told us this story. It's a difficult story to hear, but it has a fantastic outcome, so please bear with me. So she was in an abusive relationship, and she had a 1-year-old child. So she had to leave that situation very quickly. And you can imagine how she basically moved into her car for a period of time. You can imagine how difficult that would be on your own, living in a car, let alone with a 1-year-old child. Fortunately, she was able to get a pension support package, and at the same time, they got her involved in this social housing program. And the way it works is they take her pension, and they take a quarter of that pension as her rent. So it's very manageable for her, and she's living in this beautiful 1-bedroom unit, and her life is completely turned around. From living on the streets to now living in a beautiful unit. She's able to study, progress herself, and hopefully get a job. Now, the way these programs work is if someone does get a job, they don't move them out of the home, they keep them in that same home, but they classify them, instead of classifying as social housing, it's classified as affordable housing. And what they do in that instance is take the average rent in the area and they give her a 25% discount. Still very manageable for her. Again, her life is completely turned around, her life and her child's life. Now, importantly, these types of projects are not just beneficial for the people directly involved, they're beneficial for society as well. There is a huge cost in relation to healthcare for people living on the streets, and also policing crime for those people. So not only is it helpful for the individuals involved, but it's also supportive for society as well financially. So I guess the way I like to think about these projects, and my clients like to think about these projects, is they're an incredibly powerful way to deploy capital, to invest your money, because it's not philanthropic. You're getting a fantastic financial return, and you're able to support the underserved in society. And we also do the same with our green bonds with them. So from that perspective, if I think about how I've been investing for my whole career, it really changed when I started investing in these types of securities, because it gave me this ability to do two things: give the financial return to my clients, but also to support underserved in society, and also climate stability. And realistically, if I think about a lot of my investors and my mums and dads who are investing in my portfolios, that's really why they're investing, because they're getting their financial return, but they know they can have this additional benefit, which is supporting people.
Thanks very much for that, George. I'd be interested to hear about Pro Bono Financial Advice Network, and maybe if you could share a story about some of the lives that you might have changed.
Oh, I'd love to.
Great.
One of the stories that really sticks with me, with someone that we've helped through the Pro Bono Financial Advice Network, is this lady by the name of Laura. Laura came to me because she thought she had to sell her house. She lost her job because of COVID. She couldn't go to work because her multiple sclerosis diagnosis and condition had prolonged, and the attention span that she had was diminishing. She came to me because she wasn't able to service her mortgage. Next thing, obviously, I need to sell my house. She had $40,000 in the bank, and that was what she was thinking. What she didn't know, and what I was able to find out for her, was this total and permanent disability insurance that she had within her superannuation that was enough to pay out her whole entire mortgage.
Wow, wow.
So here we are, a single 40-year-old lady now being able to stay in her home, not having to worry about how she's going to fund her mortgage, and now can start looking after herself and manage her health.
Wow.
She was able to get the disability support pension, and with that meeting her cost of living, it really, really just changed her world.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
Whenever I think about the work we do for people and what we're trying to do in terms of changing people's lives, it's people like Laura, people that don't know where to go, they don't understand finances, and they've got their world which is essentially falling apart because they've got a health issue. Or like George's story, impacted by domestic violence, which is something that's really, really powerful. So these things that we can do that help change people's lives is just incredible.
That is incredible, amazing.
Yeah.
And finally, Nicola, I might end it with, for the financial advisors that are listening out today, how can these financial advisors get involved in the Pro Bono Financial Advice Network?
So all we ask for each and every single advisor out there in Australia is to take on one case a year. So one client that comes through our doors that we know can't ordinarily afford financial advice and is impacted by one of these illnesses, just put your hand up and say yes. We've got a really, really simple, easy process to register. All you need to do is get in contact with us, register your details, and when a client puts their hand up for help, say yes.
All right. Well, guys, that's pretty much everything. Thank you very much for being part of the conversation. It's great to be here with you guys and share the company. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.